Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And I have a public comment to read first off. Any citizen desiring to address the hospital board should turn in speaker card to the board secretary. If the citizen comment pertains to an item on the agenda today, the comment will be heard early in this meeting. Otherwise, it will be heard toward the end. Speakers are asked to limit their comments to 5 minutes. Vendors, suppliers, or other persons seeking hospital contracts awarded on a competitive basis are reminded that their ability to address the board may be restricted by the terms of the invitation for bid, request for proposal, or other purchasing criteria. Lastly, the board has established a claims adjustment review panel comprised of representatives of the board, the medical staff, administration, and legal counsel to review and negotiate the settlement of claims. Accordingly, the board will not entertain comments on or discuss or negotiate claims at this meeting. I also would like to note that Mr. Henry has been excused absence today for health reasons. Also, as the pandemic remains unstable, we have some extra precautions regarding seating. Finally, we continue to streamline our meeting process to avoid non-essential items from our consideration. And now, next on the agenda, I'd like approval of the orders of the day. We have a motion. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes. Yes. Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next, I'd like to have approval of the minutes of our meeting of March 21st, 2022. We have a motion, a second. All those in favor say yes. Opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have our board reports. There are no board reports for today. Next are our medical staff reports. Dr. Fiorita does not have any report, but both Dr. Jefferson and Dr. Lichtenstein have motions. And we will start with SMH Sarasota with Richard Lichtenstein, MD, Chief of Staff.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I would request the following from the board. I would request a motion approving the Sarasota Memorial Hospital, Sarasota, neurology and neurology telemedicine, neurosurgery, and orthopedic privilege forms, all as recommended by the SMH Sarasota Medical Executive Committee.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say yes. Yes. Opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have Dr. Jefferson. And Dr. Jefferson, do you have any recommendations?
Yes, I do. I would ask for a motion approving Sarasota Memorial Hospital, Venice, neurosurgery and orthopedic privilege forms, both as recommended by the SMH Venice Medical Executive Committee.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. I do want to recognize Dr. Jefferson, which I failed to do. SMH Venice, Chris Jefferson, MD, Chief of Staff. I'm sorry about that, Doctor.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is our Secretary's report with Greg Carter, Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The board calendar for May will be Monday, May 16th. 9 o'clock will be Human Resources Committee. 10:30 will be the Finance Committee. At noon will be closed session of the hospital board meeting. And at 12:30, board's financial review and issues with lunch. And at 2 p.m. will be the board meeting itself. And that concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Next, we have our treasurer's report with Joseph DiVirgilio, the treasurer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have one action item, approval of the bad debt and charity care. I move approval of the bad debt and charity care for the month ending March 31st, 2022 in the amount of $21,812,000.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Joe. Next on the agenda is financial highlights with William Wojcik, Chief Financial Officer.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have the highlights for March. We'll start with total revenue for the system in the rating agency format. For March, we had total revenue of $144,477,000 compared to a budget of $120,469,000. Fiscal year to date, and this is 6 months through our fiscal year, total revenue of $731,567,000 compared to a budget of $666,093,000. The system's total expenses in the rating agency format for March, $126,108,000 compared to a budget of $112,830,000. Fiscal date, total expenses of $684,960,000 compared to a budget of $631,820,000. Moving to operating income for the system for March, $18,369,000, which generated an operating margin of 12.7%, compared to a budget of $7,634,000, generating an operating margin budgeted of 6.3%. This year to date, again, this is through 6 months, operating income of $46,607,000, which through 6 months is an operating margin of 6.4%, compared to a budget of $35,273,000. We budgeted an operating margin of 5.3%. Moving to statistics for the hospitals, average daily occupancy, and this is fiscal year to date, 751 compared to a budget of 715. The admissions and observation cases totaled 31,028 compared to a budget of 30,280. Through 6 months, our average acute length of stay at the Sarasota campus, 4.96 days. Last year was 4.70. And at the Venice campus, 4.02 days. Continuing with statistics, through 6 months, we've had 13,570 surgical cases compared to a budget of 14,173. We've had 2,153 births compared to a budget of 2,188. Outpatient registrations totaled 268,591 compared to a budget of 266,304. And in our 3 emergency care centers, we've had registrations totaling 72,407 compared to a budget of 73,313. And our case mix index at the Sarasota campus for all patients 1.95, and for Medicare patients 2.02. And at the Venice campus, case mix index for all patients at 1.48, and for Medicare patients 1.48 as well. Madam Chair, that concludes my report unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Wojcik. Any questions? Okay, we will move on to our committee reports. Governance Effectiveness Committee with Joseph DiVirgilio Jr., the chair.
Thank you. The Governance Effectiveness Committee met earlier today after approving the minutes of our last meeting. We renewed discussion of the long-term incentive component of the President and CEO's compensation. After further discussion of the best way to incentivize achievement of the board's long-term strategic plans, and the board determined, after further discussion, the best way to incentivize achievement of the board's long-term strategic plans, the board determined to implement a 3-year LTI tied to the achievement of the board's long-term growth strategy as measured by revenue and margin. And at this time, I move approval of a 3-year LTI for the president and CEO with a maximum 25% annual incentive earned upon the achievement of the board's revenue growth for fiscal year 2024, and that the average margins of the period of the LTI meet or exceed the margin goals for fiscal year 2024, and otherwise as proportionally related to achievement of that goal as recommended by the governance effectiveness.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed?
No. May I explain, Madam Chairman?
Please do, Doctor.
My reason for saying no is because I believe the margin requirement emphasizes money, and I believe to the detriment, hopefully not, but it does not incentivize service. And I believe this institution's major goal is to serve the public.
And that is so noted, thank you. Anyone else with a comment or?
Yes,
question?
please.
Daryl?
I'd like to thank the last speaker for explaining why the vote no. It's very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, so that was, thank you, Daryl, for that. All right, we have a motion, we have a second, and we had a vote. We had a vote. All those in favor say yes. Opposed? We do note one opposition. We noted Daryl, and
Opposition.
motion passes.
I vote no.
We noted his comment. One opposed. We noted. Daryl,
Yes,
you there?
I am.
On that vote, did you vote yes or did you oppose?
Opposed.
All right. We have 2 opposed. Motion passes. Okay, moving on. We have Mission and Planning Committee with Greg Carter, Chair.
Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. Mission Planning Committee met this morning, and Lori Lang, Kelly Batista, and Bill Wilson presented the outpatient cancer pavilion project to the committee. Lori began the presentation by reviewing the Jellison Cancer Institute strategy. Kelly reviewed the completed phases of the Jellison Cancer Institute, which includes the Radiation Oncology Center and the Oncology Tower, then detailed the site plan and programming for the new outpatient cancer pavilion. 7-story, 200,000 square foot cancer pavilion will be located at Walmer Street, SMH, Sarasota. The facility will include the continuum of patient cancer services, such as diagnostic imaging, medical and surgical oncology clinics, outpatient surgery, infusion, radiation oncology, breast health services, and other oncology supportive care. It includes an 8-story parking garage, which will add 697 spaces of parking. Parking garage is expected to open in the first quarter of fiscal year 2024, and the cancer pavilion is slated to open in the first quarter of fiscal year 2026. Lastly, Mr. Walter reviewed the system's financial projections with the presented capital requests included. The So at this time, I move approval of the capital expenditure to design and build the Ryan D. Jellison Cancer Center outpatient cancer pavilion and the Floyd Street parking garage at SMH Sarasota in an amount not to exceed $220 million as recommended by the Mission and Planning Committee.
We have a motion?
Second?
A second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Next on our agenda is our Mission and Planning Committee. Oh, I'm sorry, that was Greg. Next on our agenda is our Quality Committee with Richard Raymeyer, Dr. Please, Chair.
Madam Chairman, quality issues are handled in confidence, and there is no public report.
Thank you for that. Next is our President's Report with David Farrinder, President and CEO.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'm going to start today, as I always do on our organizational report card, look at our 5 areas of concentration, starting with service, and we have a goal of having our, in our service concentration of having our likelihood of recommending having 8 out of 10 of our service areas equal to or greater than the 75th percentile. I'm happy to report that we are meeting that goal, and I'll show you the detail on that here in just a minute. In the people area, we have our goal of having our new hire retention, having 83% of our regular full and part-time employees that have been hired in FY 2022 still be employed by the end of the fiscal year, which is 9/30/2022. We are slightly ahead of that goal at this point at 89.84%. In the quality area, we have our goal of having our combined overall standardized inspection rate be 8.85 or less. We are achieving that, exceeding that at 0.72. Just to remind the board that a national average or expected number is 1.0, so we've already set our goal pretty aggressively there. In the finance area, we've already heard from our CFO, Bill Wojcik, but we have our goal of having our operating margin be at a 5.5% or higher. We are tracking higher than that at this point at 6.1%. And then finally, in our growth area, we have 2 goals that we monitor. The first being our inpatient admissions and observation outpatients. We have a goal of being at 60,119. We are currently tracking just slightly above that at 61,598. And then finally, our outpatient registrations. It has a goal of having 1.125 million patients. We are currently tracking a little bit higher than that as well, 1.139 million. Looking at our patient experience report card, we really see on the left-hand side is our 10 areas that we look at to look at for our likelihood of recommending. Then the next score over is you see our actual score. Then what the national median score is in the first green block, and in the second green on the far right is what the national is the 75th percentile score that's held nationally. You can see that we are exceeding all 10 on a national median score, and on the 75th percentile, we're exceeding 8 out of 10. The 2 that are just 1 point off each are radiation oncology. We have a 96, where the 75th is a 97. And First Physicians Group, which we're having 93, and the national score, 75th score is a 94. So a lot of work has been going on with all the people here at the organization. Next up, we want to talk about our Gallup Exceptional Workplace Award. Sarasota Memorial is one of only 41 organizations worldwide to earn Gallup's Exceptional Workplace Award for 2022, recognized as a top performing employer despite the ongoing pandemic. This is the 3rd time Sarasota Memorial has won the prestigious Gallup Award, which honors thriving organizations that have attained world-class performance by making employee engagement a cornerstone of their strategy. According to Gallup, only 20% of employees worldwide are engaged but the average engagement among exceptional workplace award recipients is 70%. 96% of Sarasota Memorial's employees completed the last Gallup engagement survey, thanks to all of our 8,000 staff members who took time to do this, and certainly our leaders who encouraged that. Next, we're going to talk about our new behavioral health pavilion. Last month, a group of staff, physicians, community partners, and leaders celebrated the groundbreaking at the Cornell Family Behavioral Health Pavilion. The new facility, slated to open in 2023, will replace our aged Bayside Center for Behavioral Health. Target Corporation Chairman and CEO Brian Cornell and his wife Martha Cornell donated $10 million to support the creation of the new pavilion, which will bear their name. The new 3-story facility will be designed to provide a safe and healing environment for people of all ages. Next, we're talking about our Venice expansion. Since the opening in November 2001, patient volumes at our Sarasota Memorial's Venice campus have exceeded all expectations, highlighting South Sarasota County's urgent need for our new 110-bed hospital. Plans are underway to construct a new patient care tower that will add 68 more beds to the campus. Design and development meetings on the 5-story addition started early this year, and construction may begin as early as this summer, with a new tower anticipated opening in 2024. Ultimately, the 65-acre Venice campus has capacity to grow to more than 400 beds, and its 28-room emergency room and 8 surgical suites can double in size. I'll talk about one of our leaders in our organization who was honored by the Baltimore Orioles. Congratulations to the very deserving Michelle Perella, manager of our employee health, who was recently honored as a community hero by the Baltimore Orioles. Michelle has been a vital part of the COVID-19 response and was named Health Systems Leader of the Year just this last year. She was honored at a recent Orioles spring training game. I will also want to let the board know that Michelle let us know that she is going to retire within the next month. So she's very much looking forward to the next phase of her life. If you get a chance to see her in that organization, please just reach out and thank her for all of her years of service that she's been here. And it's well deserved, though we'll very much miss her for everything she's done. Our visitation policies are changing a bit. This month, Sarasota Memorial resumed our pre-COVID open visitation policy at both hospital campuses. We thank everyone for helping to ensure a successful transition as we reconnect patients with their loved ones. Throughout all of our facilities, we continue to adhere to safety protocols, including requiring masks for staff and visitors. We greatly appreciate everyone's understanding and cooperation. To review the policy, I would ask you to go to our website, as it is detailed on the website. This last month, Sarasota Memorial joined the nation in celebrating Doctors' Day by thanking our 1,254 medical staff members for their exceptional care they provide to our patients each and every day. Our physicians have been invaluable partners in the long battle against COVID-19, serving on the front lines and supporting the health and safety of patients and the community as a whole. We are grateful for their skills and expertise. As a celebration of their contributions, we ran a special ad in local newspapers and created a special thank you video, which you can see the YouTube link on the presentation. Madam Chair, that's the end of my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, David. Any questions? No? And a special thank you to all the doctors that are in this room today, too. Okay, next on our agenda is our consent, for which there are no reports for the consent agenda. Public comments. Karen, do we have any public? No, not at this time. Thank you, Karen. We will move to legal matters with Carolyn English. Thank you, Carolyn. And there is no other business expected. Does anyone have any comments or questions? No?
I'd like to make a comment, please.
Yes, go ahead, Daryl.
If our former board member, Marguerite Malone, is listening to us today, Marguerite, kindly pass best wishes to your husband and Admiral Logan Malone. We appreciate his lifelong service to the country, and we appreciate his help with us as a board. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Daryl. We all appreciate that as well. Daryl, can you hear me? Daryl?
Yes.
Yes, was that just a general thank you to Logan?
Good, thank you. I think a very special man. If you hear about what his career involved, you would be amazed.
Yes.
Can you imagine what it takes to be in charge of the entire Pacific Ocean submarine fleet?
Yes.
He was that.
And we're so respectful of his service to the country. Yeah. Logan and his wife will be at the Corinthian dinner this week, so we will all get a chance to speak with him and thank him for his service. And thank you for that, Daryl. We appreciate it. All right, next on our agenda then, we are adjourned.